It was a cold Monday morning on November 12, 2018, when the quiet stillness of Joliet Township, Illinois, was shattered by a horrifying discovery. A local hunter, out on his usual morning rounds through a wooded area near Woodlawn Memorial Park, stumbled upon something that would haunt him forever. The earth looked freshly disturbed, as if it had a secret it desperately wanted to keep. But as he drew closer, that secret revealed itself in the most chilling way imaginable: the body of a young woman, partially buried and burned. The victim was soon identified as 22-year-old Danica Ford, a bright, ambitious woman who had recently moved to Illinois in search of a fresh start. Known for her radiant smile and unstoppable determination, Danica had once been full of dreams for her future and her young children. But now, those dreams had been violently snatched away. Her life had been extinguished not by fate or accident, but by human hands, hands she once trusted. Authorities from the Will County Sheriff's Office arrived at the scene, their faces hardened by years of experience, but their hearts shaken by what they found. The area was cordoned off, investigators combing through the cold ground for clues. A blanket and bedsheet wrapped around Danica's body became their first trail of evidence, a silent witness to the brutality she endured. Detectives knew immediately this was no ordinary death, it was murder. But the question that hung in the air, heavy and haunting, was who could have done this to someone so full of life? As the investigation unfolded, what started as a search for justice would uncover a heartbreaking story of love, betrayal, and a darkness that no one saw coming. This is her story. Danica Ford entered the world on October 25, 1996, in Cabarrus County, North Carolina, the precious daughter of Darren and Tammy Ford. From the very beginning, she carried a light so radiant it could have rivaled the morning sun. Her laughter was infectious, her smile wide and genuine, the kind that could melt even the coldest of hearts. Danica wasn't just another face in the crowd. She was a burst of color in a world that often seemed painted in gray. She grew up full of energy, an unstoppable force wrapped in a gentle personality. At Concord High School, Danica was known for her determination, a student who didn't just dream, but worked tirelessly to make those dreams a reality. Her teachers often said she had an old soul in a young body, the kind of girl who looked far ahead while everyone else was still figuring out the next step. But life, as it often does, took an unexpected turn. At just 16 years old, while still walking the crowded halls of high school, Danica discovered she was pregnant. The news hit like a thunderclap on a clear day. Shocking, yet it didn't destroy her. Instead, it seemed to ignite something inside her. She gave birth to a baby girl, a child who would become both her reason to fight harder and her greatest joy. Many would have crumbled under the pressure, a teenager balancing motherhood and school, but not Danica. She was made of something tougher than steel. With unwavering support from her family and her strong faith, roots she'd built from growing up in church, she managed to stand tall. She found a job as a hostess, and through her characteristic determination, climbed her way up to being a waitress. Days blurred into nights as she juggled classes, work, and caring for her daughter. Her life was a constant marathon, but somehow she kept running. By 2015, through sheer grit, she walked across that high school stage and accepted her diploma, a moment that felt like conquering Mount Everest barefoot. After graduation, Danica set her sights higher. She moved to Charlotte, North Carolina for a short while before enrolling at Wells University. College brought a new chapter filled with promise. Danica's athletic side shone bright. She played on the women's basketball team, her confidence radiating like a star player under the court lights. She made friends easily. Her charm could have softened the heart of a stone statue. Life, for once, seemed to be smiling back. She had beauty, brains, and a heart big enough to fill a room. She was also talented at makeup, so much so that she became a small-time influencer, dazzling followers with her style and creativity. But just as things seemed steady, fate threw another curveball. 2 years into college, Danica discovered she was pregnant again. It wasn't the plan, but she embraced it. Love, as unpredictable as it is intoxicating, had found her once more, this time in the form of Deontay McMillan, a man 2 years her senior. In January 2018, at the age of 21, Danica welcomed her second child. She was ecstatic, complete, as she put it. Her love for Deontay was the kind that burned bright and fast, like a flame that consumes everything in its path. She saw him as her partner for life, the man she'd follow to the ends of the earth. When September 2018 arrived, Deontay landed a job with an insurance firm in Schaumburg, Illinois. To keep their young family united, Danica made the bold decision to move with him. The plan was simple: leave the children with family temporarily, while she and Deontay settled in Illinois and built a new life. At first, she was hopeful. She planned to use her skills to do hair, something she excelled at, while Deontay worked his insurance job. Together, they would build a dream. But the dream quickly soured. Within weeks, Danica lost her job, and Deontay found himself unemployed. Suddenly, their big city adventure turned into a nightmare of unpaid bills and cold dinners. The couple's life in Illinois began to crack under the weight of financial strain. With no steady income and mouths to feed, Danica turned to dancing to make ends meet. It wasn't her dream, but it was survival. While she worked hard to keep the roof over their heads, Deontay did little to help. The imbalance grew like poison between them. Arguments erupted like summer storms, each one louder and more vicious than the last. Danica, once full of light, started questioning everything: her choices, her future, her love. She was determined to reclaim her destiny, but before she could, fate intervened in the cruelest way imaginable. On the cold morning of November 12, 2018, a hunter out on his private land in Joliet Township, Illinois, stumbled upon something that made his blood run cold. The earth looked disturbed, freshly dug, as if hiding a dark secret. When he looked closer, his breath caught in his throat. What he saw wasn't an animal, but a human body. Authorities rushed to the wooded area near Woodlawn Memorial Park. The scene was haunting: a shallow grave, a body wrapped in a bedsheet and blanket, partially burned. When forensic investigators noticed a tattoo on the leg, the identity hit like a sledgehammer: 22-year-old Danica Ford. The news shattered her family. The bubbly girl with the radiant smile was gone, stolen in the most brutal way. Detectives launched an investigation that would unravel a tragic tale of love gone horribly wrong. Danica's family told investigators about the move to Illinois, about Deontay, about how she'd been working hard to support them. Yet, by the time the police started interviewing people, days had already passed. Danica had been found without her ID or personal belongings, giving her killer precious time to vanish. The break came on November 20th, 2018, when detectives traced their lead all the way to Fayetteville, North Carolina, to the home of Deontay's mother. She admitted her son had returned on November 16th, alone. When she asked where Danica was, he casually claimed he'd, quote, left her in Chicago. But suspicion grew when police found Danica's car in his possession, the license plate crudely removed, as if a missing piece of metal could erase guilt. Detectives seized the vehicle, and though Deontay insisted on his innocence, his web of lies was unraveling fast. Surveillance footage revealed everything. He and Danica had stayed at a hotel in Lansing, Illinois on November 9th. She recognizable by her bright green hair. Later, they checked into a motel on November 10th, the last place she was ever seen alive. When police interviewed the motel clerk, she mentioned something odd. The bedsheets and blanket were missing from Deontay's room. Those same items with a distinctive logo were found wrapped around Danica's remains. As if that wasn't damning enough, footage showed him buying a shovel at Walmart, later found in the trunk of Danica's car, alongside strands of her unmistakable green hair. Deontay was arrested on Thanksgiving Day in Fayetteville, charged with murder. In court, he mouthed, "I love you," to his weeping mother, an irony so bitter it could curdle the air. Years dragged on. Between legal delays, changing attorneys, and the pandemic, it wasn't until 2024 that he finally stood trial. Deontay chose to represent himself, insisting the evidence was fabricated. He argued there was no DNA, no weapon, no direct proof, but the mountain of circumstantial evidence spoke louder than his words ever could. Prosecutors painted a chilling picture. On the night of November 11th, 2018, during yet another argument about money, Deontay lost control. In a fit of rage, he strangled Danica, watching as the life drained from her eyes. Then, coldly and methodically, he wrapped her body in hotel linens, drove her 40 minutes away, buried her in a shallow grave, and set her on fire. Despite his protests, the jury saw through the lies. He was found guilty and sentenced to 48 years in prison. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened in those final moments, only that a bright, loving young woman's life was cut short. Deontay continues to appeal his conviction, clinging to the very hope he stole from her. But justice, though delayed, had its say. Rest in peace, Danica Ford, a soul whose light was dimmed too soon.